Did you start with your theme song yet? Ba
I'm
ba
gonna
ba ba
record it.
ba ba. Twizzle. Boom cannon.
Today we're talking about adulting.
Here's the first adulting tip for you to know, and please do not do this ever. If you have a child, give them tons of things that will help them pass out. If you have to go on the internet, run them through the park for 3 hours, make them cut some logs with a super sharp axe, give them tons of turkey with extra melatonin sprinkled all over it. I don't know. I don't have a kid, so
Actually, yeah, I think most people shouldn't have kids.
I agree with you.
Yeah, okay. Well, I really do like the idea of setting people up with a list of 100 things or whatever it is they have to do by the time they become 18, so that way you know that they know how to adult. Like change the oil in a car and how to check your oil and how to add more oil when you need it. Basic life skills, how to change a tire. Do you know how to change a tire?
Yes.
I don't know why I asked that. Of course you do. I, of course, do. I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm not strong enough to take off the lug nuts half the time.
When I was 16, learned how to drive in New York. My mom's boyfriend at the time was like, "You're gonna learn how to change a tire because blah blah blah." And I painfully sat through it. And I don't know how many tires I've changed in my life, but it's probably more than one a year, I guess, whether it's mine or somebody else's.
That's insane. That's a
I've
lot. I
also,
guess
yeah,
it's a testament to the streets in New York City, I guess.
Yeah, that's also its thing. And since I do live in New York City, I've also learned how to patch a tire, which is the simplest thing, saves you tons of money. And I recently got in a little car air pump generator thingy that plugs into your cigarette outlet and
Oh,
fills up your
yeah.
tire too. That's made me lazy because I've had a very slow leak in my tire for like 2 months now, and every now and then I just since I don't have to find quarters or go to a machine, I just plug it in and fill it up.
What is your favorite part about being an adult?
Oh God. Uh, Sometimes it is having the money and the knowledge to be able to do what I wanted to do when I was younger, but was not able to do because of those two factors.
I think I 100% agree with you, and I didn't think of it like that. I didn't think of my own answer before I asked the question. So I'm just going to piggyback on yours and say that that is the best answer because it kind of covers everything. How do you balance your bank account? Do you use like an app or do you just keep it in your head?
Oh God. When I was younger, I used to keep real close details of the transactions because the money was much tighter. Now, I mean, everything's done through the internet. My bank account shows me every single expense I get. Anytime I make any transaction with any card that I have, I get a text sent to my phone, which doesn't help me balance anything. It just at least lets me know if money is being spent if, and that's good for auto pays, for subscriptions, for random fraud charges. I don't really balance anything. I try to be as cheap as possible with almost everything, save up a ton of money, knowing that one day I am going to be lazy and I'm going to need it. If I'm thinking of like purchasing something new, I really look into the costs of it, not just the initial cost, but the ongoing cost too. For example, one of the scooters that I bought, an electric scooter in New York City, it's great. Cuts all my traffic times in half for commuting. And with my first scooter, which was like $1,400, I realized that between parking and gas, and this was before the big gas surge, just those two factors alone, I would break even on my scooter after using it for 6 months if I used it for 2 days a week. And I ended up using it 5 days a week. So it paid itself off much quicker. I'm going on a little bit of a tangent, but like with that scooter, it's good to know where I'm starting to save money with that purchase and to also know, hey, just because I have a scooter and I paid it off, it doesn't mean I don't always need to get new brakes, new rotors, repairs, all of the stuff that goes along with it.
Very true. I wish I could use something like a scooter, but I am always cold and I'm clumsy. I'm also terrified of things like that. And when I'm on things like motorcycles, the vibration on my feet makes me giggle, and
Mm.
yes, it's very hard to get anything done while you're giggling. So for money, I use something called Clear Checkbook. It's an app, but it's also clearcheckbook.com. And I have my reoccurring bills automatically go in there, but I get to select when they have gone through. I can even make them show up in my budget early if I want. And
Okay. I mean, I know how to be an amazing poor person. I remember when I used to go to the gas station with all the quarters that I'd saved up, and I'd be like, "Yeah, could I get like $1.50 in gas?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, I don't do that." I'm like, "Dude, it's all I got. Like, look, here's my buddy." And I knew what I could do and what I could not do. And when all of my friends say, "Hey, let's go do this," I said, "Can't do it. Sorry, I'm broke as crap."
as a parent, it's hard because since I grew up poor, I live vicariously through my child, buying them all the stuff that
Hmm.
they want. Then at some point, they have basically one of everything. And then it becomes more challenging to buy them presents. But
Yeah. As I know from a relative who I know, they just buy their kids stuff because they feel that it helps them have a better childhood, that it shows that they love them, it shows that they're good, and the kids don't appreciate anything that they have, and their life is not any better because of what they have. And like I know from personal experience and from stories of other people, kids just kind of have fun doing whatever they have in front of them. Just because someone doesn't have a game console or electricity or the internet or a cell phone, they're going to still have fun with whatever they have.
I actually just recently found out how to do the minimalist toys thing. And it really is
Hmm.
about having toys that you can use for anything like wood blocks and stuff like that. Obviously, Legos fit within that because Legos can be anything. But
Hmm.
and it's weird because I didn't even have to transition my child to kind of a more minimalist thinking. They still have a lot of toys, obviously, but they were just like, I don't play with any of the toys in this thing. I just want to get rid of all of them. And I was like, okay. And so we're kind of there now. So it's been pretty exciting because we've been getting rid of a lot of stuff. And it's not even because I've been asking, it's just been their idea.
Yeah, no, that's something that only happens with goblin children. Human children generally don't do that on their own.
Yeah, well, I think my child sees other parts of the house that have become minimalized, and it just it's like a breath of fresh air when you're in that section of the house.
That's right.
Yeah.
Here's a tip for being an adult: always wear a condom. Because you know what? It's not even about the pregnancy. It's about what disgusting thing you're gonna get. And if your partner says, "Oh, I never do this," they always do it with every single person, every single time. Don't fall for it.
Oh my gosh, I found out about a new STI, microorganisms that like irritate you in your urethra. And that's the most common STI my doctor gets apparently. Not everyone feels that they have this issue too. Sometimes it goes undetected. Did you know about that?
No.
As a serial monogamist, I feel like I missed out on a lot of the exciting condom use stuff.
What is condom use stuff?
I guess just everything with one night stands and stuff like that. I just missed out on
Okay.
fun adult stuff
Mm,
that I
the best
guess
adult stuff.
yeah. Oh, the next thing I was going to say was I think it's really hard to be a full adult when you don't drive. Not in places like New York City. Obviously, I'm not talking about that because that's different.
Hmm.
But I'm
But
talking
in a
about,
place where you need a car to get around and you just haven't done it.
yeah, I know at least one person who's in their 40s now. They never knew how to drive. And
Like, how does he live? How does he go out? How does he do stuff?
I don't know. I guess he really is reliant on everyone else. I mean, like nerd friends take care of each other, so I guess he does always have a ride living in South Jersey.
For driving, I'm going to say this in the most polite and calm way I can, that if you do not use a blinker when you drive, you are the biggest piece of S in the universe. Like, there is literally no action that exists in the course of driving or possibly your daily routine that takes less energy to have the greatest impact on not only your own safety, but everyone around you. It's literally moving a finger 2 inches to just put on something that helps everybody out. If you're listening to me and you're thinking, oh, he's so wrong because you are the problem in this world, what is so difficult over such a simple task? Because the people who aren't using the blinkers, they're usually not good drivers. They're swerving, they're making a mess. Oh, God. I promised myself no full blown rants tonight. So,
Well, I 100% agree with you. And the worst part is if a person just does it the way they're supposed to when they first start driving, it becomes second nature and you don't have to put any effort into it. So it actually takes more effort not to use your blinker than to just do it automatically and just have it be second nature the rest of your life. I 100%
mhm.
agree with you.
And if you're not using your blinker, you're probably the person who needs to be using their blinker. They go hand in hand.
I have a question for you. Who is worse at
Hmm.
driving, Philly drivers or Jersey drivers? I consider New York to be the worst, but
I mean, so I don't know about Philly drivers. So, like, here's the thing with New York drivers, and I will not go into my rant. I already feel it starting because I've given this speech a million times. There are a lot of people think that New York drivers are bad drivers because they're, I'll call it aggressive and direct. So when you're driving in New York City, you got to be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not quite confident, but you got to decide on something and you have to do it. There's no room for wishy-washy behavior in New York City. And here's why. There are so many cars. Let's just say you're going down Second Avenue or Third Avenue, you're going up it in the city. It's like 5 lanes, 6 lanes at some point. You're like, this is freaking great. And then all of a sudden, boom, the left lane that was just literally a traffic lane, it's now street parking. So everyone has to merge. You're like, okay, 5 lanes, boom. The right lane, it's now parking. You're down to 4 lanes. Meanwhile, now that these two outside lanes are now parking lanes, people are double parked on both sides. And they're staggered, they're together, they make it so difficult. Occasionally people triple park because they just don't realize that somebody else is double parked. So you're constantly swerving in and out of traffic, and then you got those big freaking smokestacks just right in the middle of the road because God knows why they have to have those. So you're always moving and swerving. Hopefully, you have the dotted lines that separate your lanes. Like a lot of times, those just don't exist, and you're kind of judging where the lane should be. So when you're swerving through, you get stuck in traffic for so long, and every extra light that you get stuck behind could be 1, 2 minutes. It leads to a chain reaction, and your time takes so freaking long. So in New York City, if you're a good driver, you're going to see a spot and you're going to go straight into it, whether there's 3 feet of clearance or 30. Because if you start kind of wishy-washy, going halfway, that confuses the bad drivers. It confuses the good drivers. Everyone gets screwed up. So, like, a good New York driver is assertive. They get where they're going to go. They don't put others at risk, but it sometimes is seen as like aggressive and a-hole-ish, which when they're doing that in New Jersey or other places, yes. And we forget sometimes, like, oh, I don't have to honk at someone when a light turned green for 0.01 seconds because my turning lane that I'm 30 cars back in lasts for more than 3 seconds with the turning arrow. And then there are a lot of just terrible drivers in New York City who just got their license when they were 40, who never driven a car in their entire life, who are like, ah, I'm going to be a driver now. And they are just the worst. But I'm sure that you have those people everywhere. They just stand out extra. And they're more popular in New York City due to the composition of the population.
that makes sense. I find it kind of goofy. I use my turn signal. If I am doing like anything that might need it, I just use it. It could be the middle of the night and I could be turning and there's nothing around me. But if I'm turning, I like will use my turn signal. It's very goofy, but it makes my brain like it just makes sense. So I always use my my turn signal, even if it makes very little sense.
No, there's never a case when it doesn't make sense because one, if your mind is fully clear, if you're wide awake, if you're fully focused on the road, if you're a smart person who's aware of their surroundings, it just in case there are people who you don't see or whatever, it communicates to everybody who is there or not there what is going on. That is in the best of cases. And I know being a very aware driver, especially involving bicycles and all of the electrical vehicles now, like these small things, scooters, mopeds, all of that stuff, especially in New York City, since I use them all too and I drive, I'm very aware. But there are times when even then I'm not paying attention. I'm tired. I'm distracted. I just don't see somebody because they're jumping off a freaking curb right into the bike lane into my blind spot. Like, so at least if you use your signals, even if you don't think someone's there, like nothing bad is going to happen, but it could definitely let someone who you're not aware of know what's going on and move out of your way if you're doing things poorly. And that's in the best of cases.
I agree. And I always think about the speed limit as that's technically the speed limit for the best conditions. It's bright out, it's daytime, obviously the road is clear. And so it's supposed to go down lower as the conditions worsen. And so when it's like a 45 in the woods and it's nighttime and there's deer, I don't want to go 60. And when someone is going 60, it makes me feel like they're ignoring a lot of the conditions. And some people get really upset with me, but I am not afraid to pipe up and tell people I think they're driving too fast if I'm in the car, because technically they're in charge of my life at that point. And I've gotten on a few people's nerves from complaining about like them weaving in and out of traffic coming home from the shore without using the turn signal. And we were going so fast. And I was like, we're going to die. What the fuck? Yeah, I'm very judgmental when it comes to driving. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. No, and that person who's always swerving and they go, "Well, I've never had an accident yet." Like, funny enough, a lot of them already have, but that doesn't mean like it's not gonna happen. I see that all the time, especially with since I ride a lot of the electric scooters, not the moped style, but the stand-up ones, and I got people who ride the electric unicycles and skateboards and all this crazy stuff, and they always say, "Oh no, I'm perfect," blah blah blah. Something could happen, even if it's not their fault. And that's what they don't get. What if you're in your vehicle and a tire bursts and you're driving like a complete freaking a-hole? None of that's in your control, but then everything is compounded and worse because of the way that you're driving. And you always have the right to tell people, "Hey, I don't feel comfortable with this. Can you slow the F down?" Hopefully they will, being a human being who values other human beings and their feelings, at least take that into consideration. If they're like, "No, screw you, I'm a good driver," like,
Yeah, the one guy, he wouldn't stop. He was the one who was weaving in and out, not using his turn signal on the highway. And yeah, he didn't care. He was a white guy.
I, I can't tell
Um,
you how many times I would have been in an accident if I did not take direct action to avoid somebody else
have I ever talked to you about whining?
whining.
Yes, I really don't like it when adults whine about things, but some people might be confused about what I mean, and there's a really easy way to tell if someone's whining or not. Basically, if you say something in a whiny voice and it sounds like you're whining, then you're whining, and you probably have a first world problem that, it's okay to bitch about stuff, but try not to be like someone who whines. The other thing I was thinking about was the whole victim mentality. They don't want to help themselves, but then there's also on the other side of that is the whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps thing. I was talking to this guy at a bar and he was saying how he quit smoking weed and how he doesn't understand why anyone does it and all this stuff. I asked him if he just quit, why is he confused why people do it? And he's like, it's just a crutch, this, that, and the other. And I was like, well, it's not. You're being judgmental about something you were just doing for years because it was something that you felt was helping you. And now that you're not doing it anymore, now it's a bad thing. A lot of people can misuse it, but that's not, he was just being a jerk. He was talking about people don't work and stuff. A lot of people are disabled and they don't know that they're disabled. And they go through their lives wondering why everything's so hard. And people are just like, well, the whole pull yourself up by the bootstraps thing. And that's a really difficult thing to kind of see as a person who grew up poor, because it's like, yup, that's right. That's their job. Their job is to dig themselves out of the hole they were born into, because that makes any sense. You know, that's totally possible for every person. They're just not trying hard enough. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
yeah, this white guy who just quit smoking weed, he just got a real job. He just started taking care of himself. And he was being very judgmental of people who weren't there yet. And this was almost a year ago, too. So things weren't as good then because the pandemic was still a little different a year ago. But I kind of had to explain to him, like, the whole pull yourself up by the bootstraps concept, because he wasn't familiar with it. I'm just like, yeah, you can't just expect people to, like, be able to better themselves like this. What are you talking about? Some people are incapable of taking care of themselves. And I don't think
Yeah.
that.
And this guy's the perfect example. He's chosen this one specific thing to say, oh, because I no longer do this, I'm better, and I don't understand why they don't do it. They're terrible, blah, 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 blah. But if you pick apart his life, I'm sure that there are a million things that you could point out and be like, oh, like, why do you still do this? Why do you still do that? Why do you this? Why do you that? Why don't you just fix all of these things the way that somebody else might see them? And everyone does everything different. And there's nothing wrong with approaching certain issues or certain ways of life like in a certain way. Everyone, mostly white people, they see anything different from them in, and I put in quotes, their country to like not be right or not be good or not be the best way of doing things. And they're so ignorant to what everyone else does that they don't need to do things the way you do, or your example is not the good one because you feel that way. We get lost in our own personal worlds and standards and so on and so forth. And yeah, overall, I do agree that that whole just fix your own problems thing never just happens that way.
I agree. Oh, listeners can send a voice message to be played for everyone. I'm going to play this and hopefully it'll be something appropriate. All right, let's play.
That person is also ignorant about cannabis, obviously, and ignorant about its medicinal purposes and what it can be used for. Because obviously, the individual was using it for some medicinal purpose, whether he was aware of it or not. So, whatever.
I love
That
that
was amazing.
ending. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Super
that's.
true, King Rooster. Yeah.
Oh, the thing that I wanted to talk about next was about learning how to apologize.
Not only learn to apologize, but just even on your own, like, and this is so freeing when you just start to be able to say that you're wrong, that you did something wrong, that you made a mistake, especially in the work environment. Like, why is everyone so afraid to be like, oh man, I screwed that up? Because chances are everyone already knows that you screwed it up. And God forbid if you try to like defend yourself or this or this, like everyone's like, no, you're an a-hole. Like everyone knows that you screwed it up. But when you're like, oh crap, I screwed it up, at least they then know if one day if you do fight back and you do say, hey, like, no, 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 I didn't do this. And you guys know I admit every time I'm wrong. And again, you're not doing this to prove that you're right, but hopefully to fix something or make a point. Like, just be able to say that you're wrong. Who the hell cares? And everyone knows anyway. And sometimes, even if you're not the one who was wrong or stuff, just suck it up and do it. I tell every one of the jobs I work with, if you need someone to blame for something, just blame it on me. I'll be on everyone's bad list. Like it doesn't matter. And then eventually the smart people figure it out and the dumb ones never do. But hopefully you replace them at your work.
I'm kind of like that too. I tell my mom to blame everything on me. I don't care if I'm a bad guy with my family. I don't talk to most of them anyway.
Hey, G dot Twizzle, Twizzle, based off of your response to when you saw the voice note, memo, ditty, people call it different things. I'm guessing you guys are new. Welcome to the app. Yeah, name's Rooster. I'm usually just in the comment section. But I am happy that you are using cannabis for medicinal purposes. I am a cannabis cultivator, and so it's pretty cool to hear people talk about their experiences and uses of cannabis. So, anyway, you guys have a blessed night. Be safe and all that jazz, and keep spreading the message that you're spreading, Twizzle, because it sounds like you have something that you can bring to the app that may be helpful. Yeah. All right. Have a good night. Bye.
That was cool. Actually, Rooster, the cool thing, I'm gonna be making a TikTok about it soon. The cool thing is I'm really excited about this idea that there's enough money and resources in the world for everyone to have enough of, like, to have all of their basic needs met and then some. So what I'm specifically talking about is a universal income for everyone, and that money would come from rich people. So basically, the whole idea is we just need one billionaire to be the first billionaire to say, okay, I can put money towards this very specific thing. And it's supposed to end world hunger and make it so people don't have to travel far distances for clean water. People don't have to get clean water brought in. We have to figure all this stuff out. And I kind of want to be the goblin who kind of points this out to everyone, because apparently no one else is pointing it out that we're ready to do it. We just have to put the pressure on. And I'm finally in a position to where I can do that. So I have been having a really hard time in the pandemic. It really fucked up my brain chemistry and everything like that, with being scared I was going to die and stuff. And as a parent, being scared my child was going to die. So I've been trying to get myself put back together since the pandemic started, and I'm finally kind of getting there. So if you want to follow me, I'm the Twizzle at everything. So, but I'm going to be making this TikTok soon. Technically, I already have like half of it made, but I'm very excited about it. But on to the next thing we were going to talk about. G Dot, did you read my notes for this episode?
I may have grazed them last night after a 12-hour work night.
Did you read at what age our brains actually finish developing?
32.
It's like 25 to 30 typically.
That's a good guess.
Yeah, you did a good job. What was I going to say? Oh, so I made up the rules of respect for everyone, but I feel like a lot of adults don't know these things. So I have it easy. It's ABC. You respect other people's anatomies, their brains, and you take care of yourself and others. And that's what I teach my child. So I really like the take care of yourself and others, because that really is a way to respect others. Like, you respect people by serving them in small ways when necessary, because that's what humans should do for each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I just want to say something about respect, because this has come up like 5 times in the past month. For people who are upset about others who wish to be identified in some way that is not what you are used to, whether that's under a different gender, a non-gender, a different race, whatever the hell they want. And you're like, but it's that, like, who cares? Just if they say, I want you to do this because this makes me feel more comfortable, just do it. Who cares if your best friend in the world says, hey, I don't like the name Jimmy anymore. I'm going by Potato Pancake. Okay, Potato Pancake. It may take me a few times to remember it, but sure, I'll do it, because it doesn't it doesn't require any real effort on my part. It makes you feel better. Just do stuff like that for others. Just respect basics. Who cares if you believe in it? From one human being to another. Just be decent towards other people.
Yes. And as a queer person, I have to say that any effort towards being respectful and following our little weird intricacies that we have, and effort is what we're looking for, not perfection. So if I have a friend who spells my name wrong, because there's no E on the end of Twizzle, if someone spells my name wrong, it doesn't bother me, because that's not about me, it's about them. So if someone calls me by the wrong pronouns or whatever it is, we just want effort and not perfection. If you fuck up, just, you don't need to make a big deal about it. Just you fix it and move on. And don't
Hmm.
apologize because then we have to say it's okay, which is annoying. It's fine. It's not always okay, but it's fine. I don't know if that makes sense.
I will, I just instinctively, as you're saying, don't apologize. I'm like, yeah, I probably say, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sure I do that every single time. It's something I'll have to work on in the future. And I mean, this percentage is so rare, but like, if you just meet someone for the first time and they screw something up, don't be like upset that they didn't identify you a certain way. There's nothing more off-putting to someone who's gonna like try to go in the right direction than get scolded and yelled at and everything, especially if they're not aware. People think differently. People see the world differently. Oh, yeah, most of the world is like this. And then I'm like, oh no, I'm in New York City and not most of the world is like the way we think. So, and I know I'm a different person than I was 5 years ago and 10 years ago and 20 years ago. I had a patient at this office I was at who started screaming at me because I abbreviated her first name and didn't say the full name. Now, this has nothing to do with any stuff, just a really old lady who started screaming at me. And I mean, obviously, maybe something happened and I'm not aware of her traumas.
So, one of my favorite things that I do judge people about is their ability to avoid and deal with hangovers. And that's a thing about adulting. I feel you can't really be a full adult if you kind of haven't at least tried to tackle that to some degree. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of split on this because it depends on the circumstances that follow the night of drinking or whatever. Because if you have a business presentation in the morning and you're hungover, no, that's not acceptable. If you are a father of a few kids and you have a night out with the boys and there's nothing to do tomorrow besides stay home and sleep, you want to get a little bit crappy and have a hangover in the morning. I don't fault anyone for that. Who wants to be worried about hydrating or controlling themselves when they have a time to just blow off some steam and go wild?
I just don't understand. I feel like what you're getting at is not trying to drink water at all. And I feel like that's just kind of silly.
Straight to the hangover as quick as possible. Yeah, I mean, being the adult or responsible person would involve water and some other stuff to wake up feeling better. Because who wants to feel crappy? But sometimes fun is in the danger.
I'll take your word for it. See, that's such a white man thing to say. Like no other group of people can just say that and like fully mean it the way that you mean it. I can't go out and just have a crazy night and end up wherever. As a goblin, that just does not work.
I mean, I've known many people of all sex and races that have lived their life that way, and it's all
Well,
sad.
that is a luxury I do not have, I guess. Ooh, did you hear the whole what do white men have if nothing else? The fucking audacity.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's my new favorite thing because it's true.
Yeah,
Is it nice?
it's great.
Just say, yeah, it has to be wonderful. We're all envious of it.
I mean, I go through struggles like every now and then. One of my multivitamin like cracks in half, and obviously I'm not gonna have it because it's ugly now.
And it also tastes worse.
I wouldn't know. I've
More,
never tasted a broken vitamin.
uh,
I just throw them in a pile with my singles and $5 bills.
oh, I want to tell you my favorite Greg story. You had this fake wand, and I asked you what fake spell is in this fake wand. And you were like, nothing. And I was like, come on, just tell me. And you got kind of goofy. I don't know, like, you were really dodgy about it. And you were being kind of flirtatious. It was like really goofy. And I got really excited because I was like, oh my gosh, I can tell that Gita is lying. Like, got really excited. So I was like, you're lying. I can tell you're lying. I was like gloating. And then you got really quiet and you looked down at your shoes and you looked upset. And I was like, what? And you were like, I think this is the first time I've ever told you the truth.
And I like that you think that you caught me lying, but I was actually telling the truth.
The one time.
You had to keep people off their game.
So there's these things called Zen koans, which are little sayings for Buddhism that make you think about things in a new way. And my favorite one, it's called The Gate with No Gate. And it's this idea that you're standing at a gate, but it doesn't have a gate that opens and closes. That part's missing. So it's got the fence part, and you're at the archway, but there's no gate to open or close. It's just open there. So you can walk through if you so choose. But it's also not obvious which way you're supposed to be going in. Like, are you inside the gate already? Are you outside the gate? Which way's in, which way's out? It's not really obvious. The whole idea is that is as long as your brain is working correctly, because if you're struggling with brain issues, then, like if you're depressed, you're not going to be able to do this. But if your brain's working properly, at any given moment, you can choose to be happy. And you can choose to remember that the bad things that are going to happen to you in life that haven't happened yet, where people you love are going to die or get sick or something tragic's going to happen, the really big things that are going to monumentally change your life and make it suck more, those things haven't happened yet. At least those things in the future haven't happened yet. And you get to live in the good part now. So you have to choose to walk through the gate and just realize that life is a miracle. Like, it's a scientific miracle. I don't believe in non-scientific miracles, but the fact that we're alive and we're a bunch of microorganisms working together, like we're made of organs that work together. Like, shit's amazing. That's what a Zen koan is. The gate with no gate.
I like it.
Yeah.
And remember, those changes that take place in people's minds sometimes take months of constant trying and failing, if not years.
Yeah.
Don't ever expect an instant, oh, okay, I'm going to do this. No, it takes tons and tons of constant reminding yourself and practicing over and over. And then eventually, one day, months down the road, you're like, I did that thing for 3 seconds. I've been trying for a few months. Okay, let's keep it going. The Twizzle Show. Ba-doop-boo.
Wow. I had a song on my bass I was going to play. Do you want to hear it?
Yes, I want to hear it.
Oh, God. Are you sure? How much do you want to hear it? 1 out of 10.
Well, now it just dropped down from a 10 to a 9 because you're unselling yourself.